Thank you. Thank you very much. This is fucking weird. I remember when Ghosteen had a similar thing on YouTube. They played Ghosteen for all the world to hear at the same time, and I was doing one of those Q&A events, and I normally at that time had a short sleep before I would do the event, just to get my brain, relaxed. And I thought, I'll have a look and see whether people like the Ghosteen record. And in my memory, I'm told differently, it was universally hated. Like, it was funny because it was just like Nick Cave, R.I.P. Nick Cave, vomit emojis. So someone sort of started up like a turd thing. So there would be one, and then someone would do 2 turds, and then 3, and then there was just this tsunami of turds, broken only by, you pedo and so forth. It was really, it made it very difficult to go to sleep to do the thing. But anyway, I hope this was better. And I'm glad you don't have little emojis you can... Anyway, I'm supposed to sit here and answer questions. If you have anything to ask me, that's the idea. Was that me? That's the idea. Can you hear me? It's kind of feeding back a little bit here. Is the mic better? Shall I try that? Is that better? Okay, all right. All right, is that better? Okay, so, number 1? Hi.
Firstly, amazing record, thank you very much.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, loved it, and it was great to share it with all these people in the room, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Obviously, it's my first listening, but it sounds very cinematic, even more so than very big. And I just wondered if you could talk a little bit about that.
It's because you're in a cinema. Yeah, I mean, it's got a lot thrown at the record. It had a particular kind of production. It was mixed by Dave Friedman, and so we went to great lengths of putting strings, a lot of strings, a lot of choir, obviously, in the way that the Bad Seeds generally go about these sorts of things, in a kind of elegant, we normally do these elegant step-by-step builds, and Dave Friedman would have none of that, and he just crashed the whole lot in amongst the synths, and so it has this purely emotional feel to it. It's just raw emotion, and when it hits, it really hits, and it's not complex or elegant. And I mentioned this to him, and he said he would trade elegance for raw emotion any day of the week. And that's how it feels to me. It kind of leaps out. It kind of leaps out at you and takes hold of you in a way. That's what it does to me. Yeah. 3.
Thanks, Nick, and thanks for hosting tonight. It's very special. I think if I was going to use an emoji to describe the album, it would be the hug emoji. It felt very warm, and I don't know, there's some peace.
The hug emoji.
Hug emoji, yeah, which I wouldn't normally anticipate for one of your albums. I just wondered if there was any... I thought the music you wrote for the Back to Black film was especially beautiful. I knew Amy, but not very well. And I just wondered if they were written at a similar time, because it felt very kind of similar in kind of pace and feel and emotion.
Yeah, I mean, there's a song on the Back to Black, is that what it's called? Film, which is rather good. You know, it's just me and Warren doing our thing, essentially. So, not really. But there's a lovely song on that at the end, after it's all finished, that we sort of improv'd and wrote, and it's really nice. Number 3.
Has to be close to me, guys.
I see, okay.
Hello, Nick. Thank you. Fabulous. You're very talented. We all know that. My question is...
Thank you for
yes.
confirming my suspicion.
Yes, absolutely. That's what we're here for. So my question is, how do you feel about your voice? We've all sat and listened to it for, 40 minutes, however long it was. We love your voice. Do you love your voice? Do you ever hear it recorded and think, oof? And how are you aware of it changing, if at all, over the course of your career?
Well, I haven't. That's a lovely question, actually. I didn't and haven't liked my voice for the longest time. I really didn't like it, and that came from a lot of messaging I had when I was starting a band, and I couldn't really sing, and people would make that known to me, and so I sort of grew into this business feeling like I didn't actually that I actually couldn't really sing very well, and I couldn't stay in tune and basic stuff like that. And but I'm happy with the way it's become. There's a way on record that you can record my voice in quite a beautiful way. It has a sort of richness when it's recorded in a particular way. I think Nick Launay is here somewhere. You here? Nick Launay, you know about that. He's a former producer of mine. So there is a sort of technique to recording me well that you don't really get in a live situation. A kind of intimacy about my voice, and I actually really like that. It's more of a kind of crooning thing in a way. So I'm quite happy with it these days. Thank you. Number 2.
Hello.
Hi.
It was interesting you saying what you were saying about your voice. I feel like it's kind of closer. Well, that's horrible.
You can do it.
Thank you.
Just take a deep breath. There we go.
I think you have got a kind of late stage Elvis thing going on at the moment.
Thank
which
you.
Is really lovely.
For confirming my suspicions.
And obviously you're really hot.
So your emoji is some flames.
It's a couple of aubergines. Maybe like the squirty.
Okay, all right. Well, whew.
I spent most of...
You are raising the temperature in here.
Well, thank you. I spent most of the time crying. Like, it was beautiful. The album was lovely.
Tears and an aubergine.
Yes, they're spurty, but it's coming out of my eyes.
Okay, well, thank you.
I'm going to give it back.
Okay. Thank you. I'm really happy you liked it. I'm happy you cried. I'm happy you're here. Number 4. This is fun.
Hi, Nick. I loved that album. I actually found it deeply, deeply moving, so thank you so much. I first came... Well, my husband has introduced me to you, and you're basically my first pop crush. And I'm quite old for that to be a first.
Me too.
I listened to you in conversation with I think it was the Archbishop of Canterbury.
Yeah.
And you said something that was a real kind of breakthrough for me. You were referencing something, I think it was a really obscure kind of verse in the Bible around, I think it was a father who had seen a miracle and had called after Jesus, I believe, help me with my disbelief. Yeah. And for me, that was kind of mind-blowing. And I hear in this album a little bit of the two things kind of side by side. So belief and disbelief sitting alongside each other and maybe overlapping a little bit. And I would just love to hear a little bit more about that tension that you hold and how you hold the two things together.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I don't see the difference between the two in some way. I know that sounds strange, but my religious nature is not really predicated upon belief or unbelief at all, really. It's there is just there is something that I find that I get from it that affects me in a way that I don't really get from anything else. And issues of whether God exists and these sorts of things are in a way secondary issues for me. I just find that it's a place I can take certain feelings I have where I don't know where else to take them, to be honest. So I don't like self-help groups. I don't like all this. I don't get much from reading about this sort of stuff. But religion is a place that seems to be constructed for one's most vulnerable, the most vulnerable aspect of one's character, and that's what I find in that. So whether I believe or not in some of this stuff, it becomes a secondary issue to some degree. But sure, this record is really a tussle between those things, so the tension between those things. That tension is the creative space for me, I would say. Yeah. I don't know how. One.
Is this me? Hello, Nick. What an honor it is to speak to you. I've been a fan of yours since the 80s. The birthday party just absolutely blew me away. And I was so young at the time.
You don't look old enough for that.
Bless you. Alice Cooper. And I don't know if I should admit to that or not, but it's really interesting that the conversation is going toward God and that you've called your new album Wild God. And I kind of just want to ask why the title, because that really interests me. Is like, what to you is a wild God? Is that your, it's like as someone that has been, and I'm going to say this and really mean it, that I have loved you since the 80s in everything that you've done. I've been there and just flowed with you in and out, and life is it's lifey, and so I just wanted to know why Wild God and what that means for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was really the image that came first. I tend to, I'm famously, I put a date on the calendar, and on that date I start a new record, and I haven't done any work or thought about a record for years, because I just don't like it. I don't like to make records, and I don't like to write records. I love to record records. Lorna, you know that. But I don't like to write them because it really is, for me, a time when I have to sit and confront the sort of mess of things and try and crystallize that in some way into something clean and pure and comprehensible. But what tends to happen within that process is that images come, and very much on the first day there was this image of a man with long trailing hair that sort of flew around, and that would enter certain situations, or like in the song Wild God, be sort of zooming through his memory and all of this sort of stuff. So that song, the name Wild God just sort of attached itself to that particular image. I'm not really sure where those words came from, and like a lot of my records, the sort of central idea tends to run through a lot of the different songs. I mean, especially on this record. This character seems to be sort of lurking around in different forms, in different ways, in different songs. Thank you. Number 2.
I was wondering how much you draw on the stories from Red Hand Files. When you're sitting, I realise your creative process is often sitting in your office. You get dressed, you go in, and then you're faced with the mess, as you said. Are you tempted to draw from the other people's stories, or from what I listened to with Wild Gods, it seemed an evolution of things that you have addressed before? Mentions of, I assume it was Arthur in the Embrace the Joy. You mentioned Jubilee Street. You have a lot of evolution within all those songs that we just listened to. Is it much more about you and just that story, or is it actually trying to embrace other people as well?
Look, I think you're talking about the process in the wrong way. I don't go about writing songs in that way. It's a very mysterious form of writing. That's part of the problem with writing songs, in a way, or the difficulty about it. It's not a kind of you never know if you're doing a good thing or a bad thing. I never know if I've written a good line or a bad line, because you just don't know until you sing it and until the band play behind it. So you're dealing in this this form that initially is beyond judgment in any way. Now, my lyrics come together by just grabbing a little thing here, this little image of this guy, let's say, and then he's moving through his memories, and I don't know, these tiny fragments come together over quite a long period of time, and a song comes from that. And once I've got one song, it starts to indicate the direction of another one, and this sort of thing mysteriously comes about in an incremental way. But I don't ever sit down and think, oh my God, I read something in the newspaper today, oh my God, I've got to write a song about it, or I read this beautiful letter in the Red Hand Files, I've got to write a song about it. There's no primary impulse at all. It's just a kind of vague, abstract, playing with abstract things. Over here, number 4.
Thank you. Hi, Nick.
Hi.
Lovely to see you. Thank you for being here tonight. I have a question about the live dimension of Wild God. Listening to the record, it's for stylistically, in terms of production, there's a lot of novelty, stuff that the Bad Seeds haven't quite done before. So I was wondering, is this going to translate into a different sort of live show? What's it going to be like to hear these songs live?
It's going to be awesome. No, I'm very excited about it. Look, you make different records. We tend to play a bunch of songs off the new record, regardless of the record. Even like, if it's like Nocturama, we still play, or Ghosteen, or Skeleton Tree, and Skeleton Tree we still played, even though it's an extremely difficult record to play on stage. Huh? Sorry, there's some voices coming.
Nice, actually. People are asking really nice questions. It's very calm.
There's some people talking.
Say your number, and then you just pick the closest hand to you.
I think they're out. It's pretty interesting what they're saying.
And then he says 2.
What a fucking terrible record. Anyway, I don't know what's going on there, but it's extremely distracting. Can you deal with it? Number 4, you deal with it. Where were we? Number 1. I don't know. I've forgotten what was going on there. Huh? Oh, the live. It's going to be awesome. Look, I was just saying that some records are difficult to play live. They're very difficult. Ghosteen, Skeleton Tree was also, but they find their live energy in a different. You just don't know. Wild God feels a lot of that feels like it's going to be not so difficult to do live, in that it's just got inbuilt energy already in it. I see a lot of the songs a little bit like Jubilee Street, for example, which Jubilee Street is on the record quite modest in its, in its reach. But live, it's this mammoth thing, and I think these songs are going to find themselves, I hope, be giant, beautiful versions of their recorded selves. Number 3.
Hi, you're Nick. I was just wondering if you ever felt the need to change either a lyric, a word, or a note in one of your previous songs. I mean, are you happy with how they are, or are you tempted sometimes to kind of change something, a little something, as we change, as we grow old?
Yeah, no, I sort of get the question. Basically, no, I'm not. I'm not. The last thing I want to do is to go and tinker with the past, just because it would be. Couldn't think of anything worse. I do change things in a live. I do change words and fix songs up in a live setting. I get another go at some of these songs. I edit them in a live setting. A lot of the problem with Bad Seed stuff, in my view, especially older stuff, is the songs are too long. I just had this thing. I'd get on this thing with my lyrics and just not be able to get off the ride. And these songs would be 7 minutes, 8 minutes, and live we can do something about that. But mostly, no, I don't want to do anything to the older songs. They are what they are, and who am I? Who am I actually to tinker with such things? Number 4.
Hey Nick. Right. So when most big artists like yourself release albums, I've got 2 questions, 1.5 questions. Sorry. First one, when artists release big albums, they go when the order list is like this, wavy, or based on lyrics or whatever. But today's playback, I'm not sure whether it's the order or not, it felt like it was building up. Every song was more uplifting than the previous one, bigger sounding. It was like a crescendo, like what you expect at a live gig. And it felt like this album was like that. Was that intentional or happened by accident?
I actually don't think that's true. I think that it kind of builds and builds and builds and builds, and then just drops to a kind of it's in my view, the record centers weirdly around the second last song, which is the song for Anita.
Yeah.
In that it sort of purifies itself in some way. It just arrives at this song, which is so simple and so innocent and so lovely, and it is to me an embodiment of Anita in some way, and it sort of crystallizes and purifies itself in that way. So I don't see it doing this, but I sort of see it doing that, and then
very slight dip.
Yeah.
Okay. And my last question, or half question, was at what age did you become a vampire? Because you haven't aged in the last 40 years. You look the same.
Really? I don't think that's true. It's very kind of you. You're a long way away. I don't know. I don't know what it was. 20 years of heroin addiction and a good face cream. 2.
Thank you, Nick, for having us, and congratulations on an amazing album once again. I, in my work mostly with 17th century painting, and I'm sometimes struck by the wild theories that people try to throw and attach to a Rembrandt based on some hypothesis in his personal life. Now, unfortunately, I can't ask Rembrandt myself, so I'm happy I can turn to a living artist, but I'm wondering how you look at the balance between kind of the universality in your lyrics, and I think people and reviews tend to go into your lyrics and try to attach them to stuff that happened to you, also because you talk very openly about it. So I'm just wondering how you reflect on kind of the universality and the deeply personal aspects of your songs.
Yeah, I mean, a song is a terrible failure if it has no universal message, and that's often a problem with confessional poetry, for example. It's just so inward-looking that it's difficult to relate to me. But what I try and do is to take very ordinary moments in my life. I try and write about the things that are closest to me, things that I can actually see, that are often very ordinary things, and sort of blow life into them, and to expand those things so that they are not just universal in their scope, but they are grand in their scope, and hope that reaches people. I hope, say, Ghosteen, which is an excruciatingly personal record about, it's about stuff that happened, has a universal appeal. It's a terrible thing to, I don't know any other way to write. I don't really know any other way to write songs these days. So I'm very much, whatever the songs are about, I'm very much sort of implicated in those songs. They are about my situation largely, or the situation of the people around me, especially Susie. I tend to write through her a lot. I find her more interesting to write about in some way. But they need to be able to sort of speak to people on a universal level, like Rembrandt. I mean, he's amazing in that way. Number one.
Yeah, of all the people that you could choose to name drop on the new album, you've chosen Christopherson. Of course, his first two albums are beautiful works of art, but could you shed a little light on your relationship to his songwriting?
Yeah, look, when I was growing up in Australia, we were listening to, once we heard the Stooges and MC5 and the sort of punk bands that sort of took over from a lot of the music that we were listening as young people before that. For some reason, we got, at the same time, got very interested in country music. It was a thing in Australia, actually, the American country music. The interest in American country music was huge amongst the new musicians that were basically experimental musicians and punk musicians for some reason. There's a sentimental aspect to the Australian character that we love that stuff. We love Tammy Wynette. We love Dolly Parton. Well, Slim Dusty is the Australian version, sorry. I preferred the American stuff, to be honest, but there you go. I'm going to be hung from a fucking gum tree when I go back to Australia. Anyway, but Christopherson, it was, I loved him. I loved his voice. I loved the sort of sexiness of him, how beautiful he was as a man, and that amazing song of spiritual desolation is really, there's nothing quite like that song, and it was always a great love of all of ours, that song. Lord, I'm wishing I was stoned. It's just an amazing, brave, beautiful song, and it talks about spiritual collapse, and so the song Frogs begins with the Cain and Abel story of a great sort of the first act of humanity, and ends and his book ended with a kind of spiritual collapse from Christopherson, Sunday Morning Coming Down, and in the middle there's just this sort of escalating joy. So that sort of said something kind of nice to me in some way. He's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree. If I may add one more question, but I guess about maybe 20 years ago, about the time of Abattoir Blues, you started inserting elements of modern culture into your lyrics, like the Frappuccino or Miley Cyrus, or like as if to ground your lyrics in our everyday universe. Whereas on the new album, and maybe also Ghosteen, you're moving into a mythological or ethereal lyrical universe again. So could you shed a little light on this development in your lyrics?
Yeah, I mean, the reason I was doing that originally was to bring these kind of images of the moment into a song, is because my songs always felt they were lyrically and conceptually from another time. They were like rooted in the blues music and all of this and gospel music and all of that sort of stuff. So there was this sort of shock value of suddenly presenting the listener with, hang on, this is you're in the modern day here type of thing. So I enjoyed that. And I still enjoy bringing disparate sort of characters in. But yeah, I mean, I guess I've stopped doing that a little bit. I don't know. I haven't intended to do that. So I don't know. I don't know about like not that I'm not doing that. I just haven't done that. If that makes sense.
Okay, then just the last one while I hold
this
on.
Guy's got his own fucking podcast.
So you've talked at length about your inspiration from both Leonard Cohen, Johnny Cash, and Bob Dylan, but one guy I'd never heard you talk about is Lou Reed. You did a cover of, I guess, All Tomorrow's Parties back in the day. So what are your relationship to Lou Reed's lyrics?
Okay, I'm not going to answer that till you give the microphone back.
That's a deal.
I'm obviously a massive Lou Reed fan and Velvet Underground fan, which had more influence over my band and the scene in Melbourne that I grew up in than any other band by far. And I've had the pleasure or the honour to meet, or had the pleasure and the honour to meet Lou a couple of times. There was a very beautiful situation where we'd gotten Ralph Stanley, the blues singer, to do a version of White Light, White Heat, a cappella version of White Light, White Heat. It was this coup. He's very interested in money, Ralph, so we sort of paid him to sing a cappella, white lightning, like this sort of thing, right? It was amazing, and Lou came into the studio, brought in by the late Hal Wilner. They both died now, both Hal and Lou, into the studio to hear this version. And I'd never met Lou Reed before, I don't think, but it was a big moment. This is fucking Lou Reed. And he just stood there, didn't really say anything to anyone. We played the song and he just wept in front of us and then just sort of left. And it was the most, it's like, wow, that was Lou Reed. And he's quite a guy. And just a massive influence. Number 4.
Hello.
Hi.
I guess I was interested. I've seen you perform in a couple of different contexts, in really kind of fairly small venues with kind of crowds that knew everything that you were singing. I've seen you perform in the Albert Hall, and those were really different experiences, and I've enjoyed both of them. But I was interested in whether, when you're writing a song or thinking about an album, do you think about, is it a thing that is in place and in time, that you think about how you would perform it, what opportunities you might have to perform it, or does it exist kind of outside of that?
Oh, fuck. I didn't understand that question.
Like, do you think about where you're going to play the record when you write it? Do you think, like, I can go to the Albert Hall?
No.
I can make an album.
No. No, we look, that sort of suggests there's some long-range plan. There's not. there is just sitting there on my own, picking away at these tiny words and trying to knit them together into something that vaguely resembles a song. The idea of where they will be played or if they will be played or anything like that is the last thing on my mind. And there's a long process that gets and actually I don't have anything to do with where they're played anyway, because I don't deal in that side of stuff. I just get this sort of sheet, like a calendar of where I'm going to play, and I kind of look at it and play. I'm just like a working stiff. That was especially for you, my blonde hair. That was an aubergine joke. Number one.
Hi. So what's with all the drums? I don't... No, I'm kidding. I love it. I really loved the album, and it was amazing to hear just the Seeds in full power again, and great to have Tommy behind the drums again, I imagine. My question is, my comment is, I was expecting like the joyfulness and the playfulness of the album after hearing the first few singles, but then as we listen to it now, the words that stuck with me, or the image that stuck with me, was the boy with the flaming hair sitting at your bedside saying, "We've had enough of sorrow, now it's time for some joy." Mm-hmm. So what really like stuck with me here is it is a very playful and like big album, and it's going to sound amazing live, but it's also it's like happiness and joy as a choice.
Look. Sorry.
Yeah, yep. I don't know if I'm leading to an actual question. It's just the things that stuck with
me.
The
thing about joy for me is that joy isn't really happiness to me. It's a different emotion. People keep talking about joy, like the Kamala Harris's, the politics of joy. This is suddenly the word of the day, and just to say I got in there first before that's but for me joy is not happiness. Joy is a hard-earned feeling. It's a feeling that you understand the nature of the world, you understand the nature of loss in the world, but it is our capacity to leap upward from that understanding of the world. And I think that this is what that record does. So it doesn't shy away from certain things, but it reveals the capacity to feel otherwise. And that's why when I listen to this record, I smile. I've got a big smile on my face. I'm listening to Tommy, playing drums. Again, he hasn't played drums for 3 or 4 years, maybe longer, because he was ill, and he's now not ill. And it's joyful. It's just in the way that it was a band reunited again. So thanks for that. Thanks.
And Colin on that bass, I mean.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Number 3.
Hi, Nick. You're right. So I know you famously put a date on when you sort of start writing albums. We're struck by how tough it sounds like it is for you to go through the writing process. Do you ever think about a point in which you're no longer writing and what you're going to do when you finally put the pen down?
Yeah, I think about that all the time. I always think like, fuck, it's the thing is, if you make a record and it's good and you can hold your head up at my age, it's an amazing thing, right? It's not like it feels like things are just slipping away. And if there's anything I'm proud of, it's that the records keep changing, keep disappointing people, keep inspiring people. There are people who love that about what I do, that sort of are along for the ride and along for the adventure of it all. Other people, you lose people, you gain people, all of this sort of stuff. It's this big there's a whole lot of vibrant activity around the records that I really love. But at the same time, I'd be quite happy not to make another record, except that it's my job, and my manager says, look, it's time to make another record, and they're the worst words my manager can ever say to me. And that is because it sets this thing off, this whole thing off. But, you know, at the end of the day, I love the songs. They are they're this sort of saving things in a way. And I'm very proud of them. I'm very proud of how many there are. You know, even though I don't love them all, I love them all at the same time, if that makes any sense. And you know, so I'll continue to make more records, I guess. You know, I mean, things of value are difficult to do, you know, and it's easier not to do those things. But you miss out on an awful amount if you just think, oh, fuck it, you know, I don't really need, why do I need to make another record? But there is something connecting about doing it, so, you know, I'll continue to do that. But I suffer terribly. Number three. Number three.
Can I just follow on from that question? And I love the album. Would you consider giving yourself a semi-break where you do the recording, you do the performing, but maybe you do Dolly Parton songs? Or work with Dolly?
I'd work with Dolly in a shot. I love her. She's an amazing woman. Had an amazing life, but you know, look, I don't know. No.
Favorite Dolly song, and I'll give. Do you have a favorite Dolly song, and I'll give the mic back?
No. Jolene. Number 2.
Hi, Nick. I'm quite new to your fan club. I can't believe I'm asking a question. I'm sat next to this great guy who works in finance, so it makes complete sense to me that he wears a suit and looks quite smart. However, you've completely trumped him and look absolutely incredible in your suit, and I think your suits are far better. And I guess, I'm sure our blonde friend over here has watched the making of Wild God, where you're kind of there without the tie and a few buttons undone and everything. I just wanted to understand the approach that you're taking by wearing the suit, going to write your songs, and continuing to wear the suit and looking as good as you do.
That's so fucking insulting to that guy next to you. You look fucking awesome. Don't even listen to that bullshit.
Okay. He's a guy in finance, not quite 6'4", blue eyes.
I don't know. Jesus. I don't even know what the question was. I don't know. I think you're kind of cool that you're a guy in finance, and you just fucking keep at it, mate. Trying to be encouraging. No, but I don't know. I've always worn a suit. As soon as I could afford one, I started wearing one, I guess. And I don't know. Look, it's just easy to put on a suit. I have 4 on the run, and it feels the way. It's not like I don't know. I just like to wear a suit. I don't know. I'm a bit embarrassed now. Number 1. Next time I'll do it in, cargo shorts and Crocs. Camo Crocs, dude. Have you got a pair of them?
Hi, Nick. I have a question about the special connection you have with your fans.
Where are you?
I'm here. Okay. On the song like Vortex, there is a special connection with the fans, and also on the Red and Files, the website, you have this conversation with your fans. How important is for you to do that? I mean, on a personal level, to exchange things with your fans. How important is it for you?
It's a very strange thing, what's happened with the Red Hand Files in particular. They have become a sort of central pin in my life in a way that everything else revolves around, because it's week after week after week, these fucking questions come in, and I write these letters, and it's you can't do that without it changing you fundamentally. And so the Red Hand Files have changed me hugely, for the better or worse, I don't know, but it's placed me in a strange position. People, I don't know. It's weird to go out. It's weird to go to. People come to me for advice all the time. People just walk up to me and say, "Look, my dad just died," and stuff like that. I'm like, fuck, I don't know what to say, mate, type of thing. Because I don't. The Red Hand Files take they're really difficult to write in the sense that they require me to sort of work out a compassionate way to approach this person's particular question. This doesn't actually come naturally to me. And so it's become this mad project that's sort of weirdly taken over my life. I don't even know what to do with it, really. I don't know when to stop. I don't know how to stop. And it's a weird thing to be seen in that way for me. It's like it's like a gynecologist at a dinner party.
It's a way.
It's difficult.
It's a way to understand better your public.
Well, there is that. Like, I've looked into the souls of my fans, I would say. It's shocking. Number 2.
Hi. I love the album. It's amazing. I just wondered if you have a favourite song from it, and if you do, if that changes day to day, or that's it.
I think Frogs. I love that song. It's a very unusual sort of thing for us to do. It was recorded in an amazing way. I feel deeply connected to the lyric of that, but really the way it was recorded was we just recorded this music, and this ever circling, escalating music. It didn't have words on it at all, and the thing about Frogs is it's not a 4/4 thing. It keeps changing, like after 3 and then after 5 and then. It has this bizarre structure that's impossible to really understand what's going on with it. It was just sort of set out like that, and we kept laying stuff onto it. So it's this big, swirling, abstract thing. And I went on to sing that. Warren's like, go on and fucking sing on it. And I'm like, I don't really have anything to sing on that. And anyway, I had this little song called Frogs, and which was actually a small song. It was a small idea in a way. And I went in and sang on it, and I don't really know what's going on in that song with the vocal. That's why the vocal's got this weird tension about it, because I don't know when it's going to change into the next thing, and so it's got this nerviness, adventuring nerviness about the vocal. But the words only last for about half the song, and then it's just sort of extemporized, and all that sort of kill me, and all of this sort of stuff. It's just ad-lib stuff, but that I was always going to change. But listening to it back, it just really affected me deeply. This song of kind of divine love that eventually ends up. The sort of religious experience is a kind of death of some sort was really very exciting when finally the sort of meaning of those lyrics found me in a way. It's a miracle. I've only ever sung that once, and it's not like I went in and did the proper vocal. That's just what you get, and it's a very beautiful piece of improv in my view. So yeah. Yeah, one of these guys.
Hello, I'm from Warsaw, Poland. Nick, thank you for the new album. I'm delighted with that. I remember your first visit in Poland was 1997 after the Botman's Call was released, and you played a very beautiful concert in the Congress Hall in Warsaw. But I remember that during the last track you invited something about 100 people from the audience on stage. I was in a group, of course. And on one hand it was scary, mad, but on the other hand it was absolutely breathtaking. So it's a question about this special bond between you and your audience. What does it mean to you?
I feel I've just answered that question, but you know, look, the relationship with my audience changed. I didn't change it. The audience changed the relationship to some degree. I just started at Skeleton Tree, went on tour again with this thing, and the audience had different demands. That they had a different, they felt different. I was sort of held in their regard or something like that. Like they weren't just there to be entertained. Something changed, and I sort of found myself moving into that feeling. It was a feeling. It wasn't like concern, but it was a loving. It was very much a feeling of love that was coming from the audience, and you know, it was, you know, changed things for me entirely. So that's how I feel about my audience, and it's a privilege to sing to them, and it's you know, they sort of saved me in some kind of way. So I'm deeply indebted to them, and that's part of what the Red Hand Files really is a way of giving something back to some degree. I know that sounds a bit hokey and sentimental, but it's actually true. Yeah. Number one.
Oh, fucking hell. Good evening. I wanted to ask you about your songs and film and TV and stuff like that. Do you look for... Well, there's always the possibility that the meaning behind the song will change for the people that see it to new pictures. Are you interested in the different interpretations that people can have by seeing a song attached to something that you had no idea would happen 10 years ago? Or does it dick you off that it's the meaning of the song has completely changed?
Yeah, it doesn't do that, unless it's a terrible film. You know, if it's a terrible film and your song is there and it's a sort of minor embarrassment or something like that. But I don't. I generally say yes to movies. If people want to use a song in a movie. Regardless, even student films and stuff like that, I feel like if they want the song, who am I to say one way or another? I don't do it. I don't use songs in advertising so far. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it's amazing. What, you know, I mean, there's things like Peaky Blinders and the Shrek stuff, and this is amazing. Or you know, the Harry Potter song and stuff like that. These were the use of a song that really sort of caught people at a particular time, and I'm very proud of that stuff, actually.
I was the guy that put that song in Harry Potter.
What a guy!
And so I wanted to thank you.
Wow, I could have said so. I could have gone, oh, except for that fucking Harry Potter film. No, it's a beautiful moment, you know, and by the way, I'm told, my manager tells me that particular song, which is just a random song in a way, it's just one song on our record, has had the most listens I think of any song we've ever done. So put me in something else. Number 3.
Hello, Nick.
Oh, for fuck's sake, Lorne.
I've got a...
This is Nick Launay. He's a legendary music producer. He's produced a lot of Bad Seeds albums, and now he's going to ask some humiliating.
Firstly, the album's amazing.
Look at that!
Fantastic, uplifting. And
what do you think of the mix?
Well, here's my question. It's a very serious one. How would you describe the heckling of the mix engineer compared to previous albums?
The heckling of...
Heckling, yeah.
What do you mean?
Throwing pieces of paper and...
You mean...
Playing tambourines while mixing.
Oh, you mean you're trying to say it was difficult to mix a Bad Seeds record because we...
No, it's thoroughly enjoyable.
Well, the thing about Dave Friedman, I'll tell you, you might want to do this as well, is that we went to his...
it was a dangerous question.
We went to his little cabin in the woods, right? And Dave Friedman's sort of Zen-like character who does very abrasive sort of stuff, really. But anyway, we went to his little cabin in the woods, and me and Warren with the record. So we'd recorded ourselves, but we just thought we'd get some other person in to mix it. And we went to his little cabin in upstate New York, and he sat us down and he said, "What are we going to do today?" And we're like, "Well, let's mix, say, Wild God," right? And he goes, "Well, what's Wild God about?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. It's like got this guy floating around with long trailing hair, and it goes big at the end, right?" He goes, "Interesting, okay." And then he goes into his room and locks the door. And me and Warren are sitting there like, did he just go into the fucking... And he does that. You're not invited into the room, so you can't throw bits of paper or whatever at him.
Damn it.
And he says, "I'll be out about 3:00, and you can have a listen to what I've done to your song." And this was extraordinarily perplexing, except that when we heard it, it was like so different. It's a different sound, right? You know, it's compressed. I mean, I don't want to get into the weeds here, but it was deeply controversial, that sound. There were certain members of the group, who I won't mention who they were, did not like it, did not like the sound. They thought that we'd fucked the whole thing up. And a whole lot of stuff happened because of that. I won't go into the details. But we stuck with it, and I really love the sound of it. So. Anyway.
Sounds amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah,
yeah.
I love
I'll let him know. He likes your work very much, so I'll let him know. I don't know how long I'm supposed to be sitting here for. Is anyone organising this event? My team have all fucked off. Anyway, number 2. Just let me know when you want to go home. Thank you.
Hi, hello. I wanted to ask you, since you mentioned the Bad Seeds there, the last couple of records were more minimalistic in sound. Now it's the full band back together again. Was that a conscious decision from the start, or were they complaining that they didn't have enough work, or how did that come about?
Yeah, they don't complain in that way. They don't really say anything. I remember with Boatman's Call, playing Boatman's Call, and Blixer Bargold going, "Why am I here?" And I'm like, I don't know. Because there wasn't really anything for him to do. But that was the start. That Boatman's Call, in a way, was the start of me doing different things and using the band sometimes, using them a lot, using them not so much. So that sort of started off something, and I think basically the band understood why Skeleton Tree, even though that's got the band on it, it's not by no means them at their full capacity, and Ghosteen, very little of the band are on that. or if they're on it kind of decoratively or something like that. But just for the basic health of the band, I when I sat down on that January the 1st to write the songs, one thing I knew is that I wanted to get the bad seeds back into the studio and let them do their thing. So. All right. Number 4. Hi. Is your mic on? Just shout it out.
No?
Yeah.
I've managed it. Okay, I'll turn it on. Right. Hi. Really, quite a simple question, really. I do agree with your assessment that these songs are going to sound absolutely fucking banging live.
Yeah.
Definitely. Who are you taking on tour with you? Good seeds, bad seeds, all the seeds?
Yeah. Well, you mean which members?
Yep. I mean, George is here, so I'm assuming you're
George,
taking him. Yeah.
Everyone except George. Oh fuck, George. Sorry. No, George is coming, right?
Is he?
Are you in? Yeah. George Majestica. So he's coming. Tommy, unfortunately, can't travel. So I think Larry will be playing drums. He played drums on the last tour. He's an amazing drummer. So he's going from keyboards to drums because he can just do everything, Larry. Jim Sklavounis will be there, obviously. Warren Ellis. George. Carly. I don't know if you speaking about using the full potential of the band on the record. Carly is a relatively new member, the first female we've ever had in our band. She's toured with us for a few, I don't know, like a couple of records now. She, I don't know if you remember on the Oh Wow song, there's a little bit where it says the country doctor whistles across the field, and there's a little bit of whistling after it. That's Carly.
Awesome.
Anyway, she's coming on tour to whistle. Got a bunch of singers. I don't know. Anyone else? George? Anyone else? That's it?
Marty?
Okay, Marty's not well. And that's... we've tried with Marty, but he's just not well at the moment. And it doesn't look like he can do this particular tour. So Colin Greenwood is coming on this tour.
Thank you.
All right. One more. Number 1.
Hello, Nick. You obviously have a kind of religious theme going throughout all forms of your artwork. I wanted to know, for your ceramics specifically, you obviously have a theme of the devil going on, and apart from it visually kind of looking like you, what other visual, not like offensively, obviously it's great, but like visually, what other inspirations do you draw from for your ceramics, specifically for your character development?
Are you an art student?
Not a student, but I am an artist. Yeah,
You're an artist.
Thank you, thank you.
Sorry. Yeah. What you mean? What artist do I like?
Well, specifically that you kind of like draw from for your.
Those little ceramics are based on Staffordshire style figurines, so English, Victorian pottery, essentially, which you know, right? The sort of artist I think I was interested in on some sort of weird way were like Munch, in the sense of his very obvious use of sort of symbolic colour, where red is violent and green is envy and all of that sort of stuff. So they were glazed with that in mind, all the colours sort of symbolic in an obvious way. I don't know, but beyond that, it was really I just ended up telling the story of the devil. I'm not really sure what that is, except that it's essentially a man, the story of a man with horns, I would say. And it became autobiographical, like the person up there asked before. It became intensely confronting, those ceramics. They started off, it was such fun, and they just became more and more confronting, I would say, in a way that a song never could, because they just sort of sit there and look at you, those little things. Anyway, I love those ceramics. Yeah, thank you very much. It's weird because I went to art school. I have a visual, I have an understanding of, I have a visual approach to the world. You can see it in my songs, basically, rather than a sort of oral thing. And finally I'd sort of made something that I could sort of touch and actually look at. And I really responded to those little guys in a very deep way. All right, I think that's it. I hope you enjoyed the record. It's lovely to see you all. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, George. Lorne. Thank you very much.